Today's conversation is about homeschooling, distance learning, words all too known to many parents across these United States. Today's guest takes a deep dive look at what makes homeschooling and distance learning a success. Welcome to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. This podcast was created for the boomer woman leaving corporate, and now you're looking to reinvent yourself, become an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. Well, each episode will leave you with clarity. You will come away with the yes, I can and yes, I will reinvent myself mindset. So come on, let's do this. I'm your host, Margot Levette. Cloud. Okay, here we are. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the globe. Wow, I'm Margot Levette. Welcome back to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. You kind of snuck in. I hit. I'll share a little backside blooper with everybody. I was talking about to today's guest about how my grandson is downstairs and he's homeschooling because LA County, nobody's in school. And I was telling my guest how I was going to bring her in and that type of thing. And I'm steady talking and I hit record before I say anything. So I kind of had to juggle and get back together. So that is podcasting 101 for everybody, So, but today we are going to talk about this thing of homeschooling, distance learning. We have been thrust into this to educate our children, educate our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, and the teachers have taken on a turn that they never saw coming, I'm sure. So today I have Kayla Solinsky, who's with us, and she's from the MacBeth Academy. She's going to talk to us about distance learning, which is something completely different. It was not something that I was aware of for children, but I thought it would be good to bring her in so that we could just give some insight. And it may be something that you as a parent, as a guardian, you may want to check into this. So Kayla, thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to say thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan, especially of you. And I am a student of the Podcast Academy Online. Check it out. And Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. I'm really a reinvention. I'm very much excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Well, Kayla, I tell you what, you came into the academy, you have a vision, you have a plan, and you are walking it out. For those of you who don't know how we operate over there at the academy, it works if you want to work it. So back to Kayla and the MacBeth Academy. Will you enlighten us? You know what's going on in New York, LA, Chicago, all parts in between. Mm-hmm. So you take us back to when you became an educator that surrounded yourself with creating distance learning, and then define for us, what is distance learning for our children?
Mm-hmm. Such a wonderful question. So a lot of families don't know that distance learning is not the model that we have right now. It can be so much more. So my distance learning journey started in 2016. I was teaching it's a gifted program at Stanford University for gifted youth. So it was it's a program for grades 1 through 12, and it was all online. So I'm in Maryland, and I was helping teach kids in California. And what I was noticing is that when the classes were engaging, when they were fun, when they incorporated the child's interests, it wasn't work, it was fun. And they're still learning, and they're still engaged. So that program was closed in 2016, was bought out by another company. And I decided, you know what? These kids are going to be without, so I'm going to start my own school. So I founded MacBeth Academy January 2016. I was pregnant with my first child. And I always think that if you want to make something happen and it doesn't exist, you have to make it exist. You have to create it for yourself. And it is not easy. So to answer your question, what I am obsessed with is engagement. and making the learning process, instead of rote memorization or surface learning, deep learning is extremely important. And there's no better way, no more kind of 21st century way to learn than online, because there's so many resources for the children and so many metrics for us to see exactly how to make the child succeed. So at MacBeth Academy, that's what we love. Every single class is focused on engagement. How can we make the child interested in what we're teaching? There's so many times where a child in regular school is like, oh, why do I have to learn this? Well, you have to learn this because it attaches to, you said you wanted to be a lawyer. Lawyers have to do this, learn how to argue. Oh, why do I have to do this in math? You said you want to be an accountant when you grow up. Accountants have to know how to add and have to do arithmetic. So we attach what we're teaching to their future goals. We try to find out, what are you interested in? What is your passion? What's your superpower? We try to figure that out. That is our role as educators. And that's what our team at MacBeth Academy has been trying to focus on for the past 5 years, is how do we make online learning engaging, meaningful, and how do we make it education suited to the child? So it's a lot of personalized education. Wow. So, yeah.
One thing I can say for certain is that education in the public system, this is just my opinion, I don't see how it really gets us ready for the future, for us to even move on. And we all know everybody's not college material, and that's fine. But even to what we're learning, reading and writing, can we take it deeper than that and spark some interest in our kids? Can we expose them to more than just those basic fundamentals? Will you address that? What do you think when you're looking at MacBeth, what you've created, versus what's in the public system?
The idea, what we try to focus on at MacBeth Academy is, yes, the public school system, and it's kind of tricky, right? Because what schools are we talking about? Are we talking about schools that have unlimited funding, where the teachers aren't stressed, where they're engaged and the students are inspired to be creative? Or are we talking about schools where I came from, where we had very limited funding, the teachers were overworked with class sizes of like 35 kids, and students are not getting individual attention? So I think that more than all public schools need to change, we need to focus on, how is education serving the child, right? Not all, if I'm in a class of 30 kids, those are 30 different learning types, 30 different interests. Yes, it's an English class, but how are we making the class focused on the child? Student-based learning is where to go. And in the public school system, as a system, they've gone away from that. It's more teaching to a test versus teaching to the child. I personally was a terrible test taker. I really was. I had to work really hard. I had to overcome test-taking anxiety. And when I was kind of going through the system, there were a lot of focuses on standardized testing. So it was every year, it was just anxiety. If they focused on what I was strong in, languages and how I learned, kinesthetic learning, the process would have been much better for me. So I think that the public school system, to answer your question, should be focusing on student-based learning, not teacher focusing on teaching at the child, but the child taking ownership of the learning process. You can learn things simple, like how to build a sentence, but you can give the child worksheets, or you can have the child learn a monologue and present that, create a rap and rap to the class. And the child is a burgeoning artist. So that kind of goes along with what they want to be when they grow up. So making the education process meaningful, that's all we care about at MacBeth Academy.
So you see the student,
Absolutely.
you see them. And that's what so many students are. They're not seen, and they're definitely not heard. And then the parents aren't heard. I'm glad you brought out that disparity. It's kind of like as Tyler Perry's haves and the have-nots. Yep. School systems that's good, school system not so good.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just how that is. I'm wondering, Kayla, for the folks with kids that are homeschooling now, can they factor in, filter in distance learning so that they can be well-rounded? They're homeschooling with the public school, but to round the day out and make it a better experience. How does that work?
Wonderful. That's such a good question. So the idea is that because we're in a COVID world, all of our learning is kind of mixed up. So we have homeschoolers where there are parents, or there's like an outsourced program that is teaching the child. We have the public schools that are teaching at home. So their child is still enrolled in public school, but there's a teacher teaching kind of in a simple, like a Zoom platform. There are private schools that are doing similar things. So in order to answer your question, to supplement, yes, the child is getting the basics with their whatever homeschooling, public, private schooling at home. But the idea is to, in 21st century education, we can shorten that distance, and it's all about access and equity, right? So if you know that your child is interested in learning Latin, and you know a program like MacBeth Academy that can teach Latin, and you don't know Latin, you can outsource that to a program like MacBeth Academy. If you want your child to learn coding, there's so many wonderful programs that you can learn coding. You can look online and find those. You can find those opportunities and resources online. But to answer your question, you want to look for a program that kind of suits your needs. MacBeth Academy offers that, but there are also other resources like We Are Teachers. You can do Khan Academy. The idea is that you want to focus on what the child needs and what their gaps are. And a lot of times the child will tell you themselves what they're interested in.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You see the student, and I hear that coming across a couple of times.
Yeah.
So MacBeth may not be the place for them, or to supplement through a course, through distance learning through MacBeth may not be the right step for a parent. So how does one know what's best for their child? Since everybody's learning differently, do you sample here or sample there?
So that's such a wonderful question. And the reason why, just to give you a little backstory as to why I keep talking about student-centered learning, is because as a child, I did not feel seen. I was in the gifted and talented program. My mom had to fight for me to be in the program. Again, I told you I'm not a very good test taker, but I was scoring really, really high in all the classes. I love learning. So in the gifted program, sure, I did well, but I wasn't challenged and I wasn't seen. So I was just on my own trying to see, with what I had. I was working with what I had. I didn't have access to programs like Latin or Mandarin or coding. Those are things that the reason why I kind of founded MacBeth Academy is to provide that access to kids that are just like me, that, wow, if I had only known about coding when I was in 6th grade, I could have started then, versus now that I'm 25 and I just discovered it. Mm-hmm. So the idea is seeing the child first and giving the child ownership of their education. What does that mean? So at MacBeth Academy, we have student interest inventories where we ask the child, what are you interested? What do you like? What don't you like? What are you good at in school? What it comes easy to you? What kind of learning style do you have? And we have this real conversation with the child about what they're into. Like when you're in the public school system, how many opportunities do you have to talk to the teacher about what you actually learn? Or how you're graded, or have a say? Just get empowerment is what MacBeth Academy cares about. We want to empower the kids, because once the child feels ownership of the education process, they're bought in. Just like an employee in a company, they're bought in, they care, and yes, there's a less chance that they're going to drop out, especially for children of color, children that are low income. So the idea is that, yes, MacBeth Academy, we are an independent school, but we very much are donors, our corporate sponsors. We care about access and making it equitable. So the idea is that, you apply, we work with you financially, but we care about the child. It's an investment in the child.
To me, that would be enough to sign on the dotted line. And that takes me, really, because I worry about the future of America when I think about the thousands of kids that are lost, left behind. The school system can't even locate them during the pandemic. It's kind of like they've fallen off the grid. And in January, when more people are going to be evicted, what's going to happen to those kids? So I'm pained when I think of these kids. But for MacBeth, you extend yourself to the parents. And I think I read every first Friday, there is an open house.
Yep.
and people are able to come and you all chit chat. It's not like just send your money and we'll just give you a phone call and we hope that it works. No, you're
Nope.
much more personable. Will you talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
that experience?
Yeah, such a wonderful question. So we care about we call it parent partnership. So the child is one piece of the puzzle and we're all on the same team. So as a teachers, administrators, and parents, we're all working together. So we work with your child during the school day, but you know your child more than anybody. So we sit down and talk like if it's face to face, if you have a question or you want to learn something or know something, you can sit and talk to the teacher every day if you wanted to. There's always access. With the parent partnerships, we have teacher parent conferences every 3 weeks. We sit and we talk with the parents. And the teachers themselves can talk to the parents. The idea is that we have that connection. And just like the student buy-in is important, parent buy-in is important. And when it comes to the access and equity piece, we want to be able to provide the support to parents. Sometimes, I still teach classes, even as the head of school, because I want to know what's going on in the classroom and how can we use technology and like student interest inventories to help support the child and make the experience better. How can I be a leader if I'm not in the trenches with the teachers, right? So
I'm clapping on that one. I'm
right?
clapping.
Especially as an administrator, like it's not top down. We are a very strong community. So the parents have opportunities to talk to our board of directors. Even we have a PTO, a parent teacher organization, where the parents have a say in how the school is run, what goes on in the classroom. Oh, maybe this technology is not as strong. Like, we care, and we know that we can only be so effective through the computer, right? So we want to engage the parent community, not just parents, guardian community. If a child is in a foster system, whoever is supporting that child, we're on their team. We work with you.
Wow. I knew it would be good and what you're doing would be excellent, but this is excellent. This is excellent what I'm hearing. As a matter of fact, some people may be interested. They may say, wow, I really like what I hear. Now, I'm already doing the homeschooling, but I would like to get certified to be a distance learner. I understand that you also help people get that credential because you have to be credentialed.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So MacBeth Academy offer a professional certificate in online education, and it's 4 courses. And the idea is, just because you're a teacher and you have online does not mean that you're an effective online teacher. There are national standards for online education. There are ways to engage that parent community. There are ways to engage the child, using multimedia, getting to know the child. There are techniques and methodologies that are used to become the most effective online educator you can be. And we teach you how to do that. So it takes between 3 months to 6 months to complete. It's 4 courses, and you are professionally certified. So working with different universities to have these courses, the certificate, count towards your credential as well, if it's through your partnered university. So we can talk more about that. It's case by case right now. But yeah.
Wow. You know what? I mean, I love this. I really, really do, because
thank you so much.
Yeah, this is exciting. Because I think COVID has really opened up a lot of doors for people, and someone may decide, I'm going to reinvent and become credentialed, because
Absolutely.
what we don't need is a bunch of people out there teaching and you're not credentialed, So.
Absolutely. That's the thing too, is like, just because you can, there are a lot of, kind of going back with COVID, we lost a lot of good teachers. Mm-hmm. And because going in person, it's not safe for a lot of people health-wise. It's just the sad fact. So, or maybe the technology was too intimidating, or they didn't know or it's overwhelming because of the administration's kind of going back and forth. But with this professional certificate in online education, we can give you those tools and equip you so that you feel confident in the online classroom and you're effective. Yeah.
Well, I hear my grandson downstairs, so I think, this is wow. This is really, really something. Yep. Kayla, how do people reach you? How do they really get a chance to sit down, thumb through your flip book or whatever you have, how do they really take a good deep look at MacBeth Academy? And this is not
Absolutely.
something to sleep on, because I don't think that a lot of schools are not going to open up anytime soon.
No.
So there's going to be room for people to get credentialed and
Yep.
move on into that space.
Absolutely.
And some people are going to understand, I need to supplement my child's education. So how do they reach you?
Absolutely. So to learn more, you go to www.macbethacademy.org. That's MACBETH Academy, ACADEMY.org. And to reach me directly, which I would absolutely love to speak to any of your listeners. So I'll give you my direct email address, which is Kayla, Kayla.Solinsky, Solinsky, @macbethacademy.org. I would love to hear from you and to speak with you more about MacBeth Academy and what we're doing.
As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, Kayla is hands-on. She built this thing with much love, integrity, and she's not just an administrator. She is in it to win it, and she'll help you and your children do the same thing. Well, Kayla, what parting words do you have for us? I'm looking at the time. We're going to say goodbye in a minute, but I'm sure that you have one last tip for our parents.
I would say that the idea is that what I want you to take away is that you are not alone in this COVID world, and education does not have to be stressful. It can be empowering and engaging and meaningful. And I would love to talk to you more about how education can be meaningful and engaging for the parent and empowering for the child, so that you can have a very successful future.
That's what we need. That's what we need. Kayla Solinsky, MacBeth Academy. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for this. This is excellent. It was great. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I think you're going to save the day for some people, for some parents and for some kids,
Oh, that'd be amazing.
We need it. People need help and they don't know where to turn. So today, I think we turned a light bulb on so that somebody can get a glimmer of hope. So
excellent.
Wow. Another good episode, ladies and gentlemen, another good episode. And I'm going to tell everybody, wash your hands, put your mask on, because I need to see you back here next week. Another brand new episode right here at Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. In the meantime, take care. Bye-bye now. PodcastAcademyOnline.com, built for the busy entrepreneur. Their podcast becomes a marketing, a branding tool. Podcast Academy Online is where you learn to imagine, develop, launch a podcast at your own pace. PodcastAcademyOnline.com. I want to thank you for listening to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Couple of things that I want you to do right now. Go to my website, pick up a copy of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how I went from game show hopping to international show host, author, and speaker in 1 year. Number 2, please freely listen to each and every episode. Share them out with your family, friends, the men in your lives. And then number 3, get in contact with me, one of the experts that have been on the show, because I want to make sure that you reinvent yourself. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation.